When I was growing up, the Republicans opposed gay marriage. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump starts, running for president in 2016, or it was like 2014, I think, when he actually started, ramping things up. And he was a Republican in favor of gay marriage and gay rights. And then I believe at the RNC, he got the Republicans to clap and cheer for the LGBTQ community. And that was really crazy to me. And I told my friend when I was at the RNC, I was like, wow, a Republican standing up at the Republican convention saying the LGBTQ community, these are our people, these are Americans, we must defend them, and people cheered for them. And that was crazy to me. And that said to me that, wow, we're looking at something really interesting here. And then early on in Trump's presidency, he was actually doing deals with Democrats and was getting criticized by Republicans. And I was like, whoa, Trump used to be a Democrat. Now he's kind of a moderate Republican. When Trump talks about the wall being built, yeah, that's just a hyperbolic way of saying border security, because Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, and many Democrats were absolutely in favor of building a border barrier. So Trump gets bombastic and rather offensive, but it attracts Republicans. And I see this and I'm like, wow. And I speak to these Trump supporters who tell me that they never voted or they're independent or they used to be Democrats. And I said, I see what Trump's doing. Trump's actually moving a little bit to the center to try and attract independents and moderates so he can win. He's trying to attract the working class. That's why he won the Rust Belt. That's why he got elected. Now there's a reason why this story is up on the screen from the Daily Wire. Basic income plans pushed by Democrats would likely kill recipients' work ethic, think tank says. The reason I brought this up is I've been wondering why the Democrats have been embracing the far left and complete nonsense policies that don't make sense, like basic income, for instance. And I think the reason is, as much as they try to claim that Donald Trump is far right, he's actually not. He's actually rather progressive for a Republican. And people don't seem to remember what it used to be like 10 years ago when the Republicans, even Obama said he wasn't for gay marriage, he was for civil unions. Then Trump comes in and he says these things. Now, don't get me wrong. Trump definitely has traditional and conservative policies he's pushed that are at odds with the left, for sure. But a lot of the stuff he says and champions for, it's populism, it's populist. Bringing back manufacturing for the working class, that's the needs of the common people. That's why you got Bernie Sanders voters, those 12 to 18% actually voted for Trump. They switched from Bernie to Trump. They didn't want Hillary. I went to the Deplorable in D.C. when Trump was getting inaugurated. And I met Occupy Wall Street activists who said, hey, better Trump than Hillary. So why are the Democrats pushing these far left policies? Well, what else do they have? Why are they for open borders? If the Democrats came out and said, we agree with Trump, well, then why vote for him? You've already got Trump. They need to present something that's at odds with Trump. They can't go to the right of Trump. That would make the Democrats, that wouldn't work. It wouldn't make sense. So they have to go further left. Trump moves the Republicans a little bit to the middle. A lot of the more extremely traditional and conservative types are sort of losing power. The religious types, the evangelicals. And Trump is gaining support from new voters, independents, and former Democrats. That means the Democrats were too close, and they need to present some kind of opposition where they say, here's what we're offering that Trump isn't. So they move further left. Now you have basic income. Listen, I personally believe unfettered capitalism is a bad thing. Unfettered capitalism, like complete and total free markets. That's why I'm a social liberal. I think we have seen throughout history that without restraint, companies and people just chase after things that likely don't make sense. So we had, I can't remember which river, there was a river in Ohio, I believe it was, burst into flames because all of these different companies were dumping waste. We then signed into law the Clean Water Restoration Act saying, hey, you can't do that. That's why we need some kind of regulation, and that's why I'm a social liberal. By all means, feel free to debate me in the comments below if you disagree. That's just my opinion, okay? I think history has shown us this to be true. I also believe, as a capitalistic society, when we allow anyone to spend their money and resources however they see fit, they chase after masturbatory things. There's a quote that I read a long time ago that I thought was fascinating that said, if we ever shake hands with aliens, it will be not because we've overcome nuclear weapons, but because we've overcome the Xbox. And what that means is humans chase after things that trigger evolutionary rewards in our brain, right? We like sugar and fat because it was rare in the wild and it was pure energy. So we love eating these things. But really, we should be eating leafy greens and lean meats. Instead, people are getting fatter and fatter because we're going to choose whatever tastes good. We're going to play video games all day. We're going to watch porn all day. And it's bad for us. However, I believe in freedom. And that means if humanity is doomed to die off or we don't ever overcome these problems, then that's our destiny, I suppose. I don't believe we should enact a gigantic authoritarian system that should take resources from other people in large en masse, like complete and total socialism or communism. I do believe that taxation, and that's a different debate, but the point is, there's a balance. I don't believe in completely unfettered capitalism, and I don't believe in socialism. I believe there's a happy medium where we can say, for the most part, you can do what you want. You have freedom of speech, you can spend your money as you see fit, but there are certain things that have to be paid for as a community, right? And that's what we have taxes for. Basic income, in my opinion, doesn't make sense, at least right now. Okay, so we'll read through this, and then I'm going to criticize universal basic income. The Democrats are all about free everything. Bernie Sanders pitches free college tuition. Cortez, free healthcare. But Cory Booker and Kamala Harris go one step further, free money! The plan, largely known as universal basic income, would redistribute money from working Americans to low-income citizens. Harris, who like Booker is looking to run for president in 2020, unveiled a plan last month that would give families making less than $100,000 a year up to $500 a month, or $6,000 a year in tax credits. Individuals making less than $50,000 would get up to $250 a month in tax credits. Now here's the thing. I have no problem with tax credits. That's not what we're talking about. Universal basic income is something completely different. So if that's the criticism, then you're wrong. But I want to talk about basic income. I want to talk about, what the plans are. But we'll read a little bit more. Americans are working harder than ever, but stagnant wages mean they can't keep up with cost of living increases, Harris said in a statement about her legislation dubbed the Livable Income for Families Today Act. We should put money back in the pockets of American families to address rising costs of childcare, housing, tuition, and other expenses. What's really fascinating is that the Daily Wire is critical of this idea of actually giving low-income people who make less than 100 grand tax credits. That's not the same thing as universal basic income, and I want to focus on that. So let me just phrase now, if the framing of this story is incorrect, it doesn't seem like they're actually offering up universal basic income, which would be cutting a check to people, but giving people tax credits, which is essentially lowering taxes on the working class. Well then, Daily Wire, I think you framed this incorrectly. Unless the Democrats are actually calling it universal basic income. A tax credit is not that. But they are saying $6,000 a year in tax credits, which is great. You'd think the right would be saying, hey, we should cut taxes on people. But let's talk about universal basic income, because that's what I want to focus on, not this article necessarily. The problem I see with universal basic income right now is it won't necessarily get rid of work ethic. It'll get rid of work incentive, right? So here's the thing. Imagine you have somebody who is looking for work because you need work to make money, to eat food, to live, and pay rent. The government says, hey, we're going to give everybody a certain amount of money to spend as you see fit, even if you make $0. It's a difference between a tax credit and people just being given cash. What happens then is the low-skill workers and the minimum wage workers have a choice. Well, if I get $1,000 a month for doing nothing, why should I work at McDonald's and make $1,000 when I'm making $1,000 already? So there's a bunch of different ideas people have. Well, maybe then the universal basic income is on top of your salary. Sure, but then you're still telling someone, why should I work 40 hours a week for $800 a month or for $1,000 a month when I already get $1,000 and I can live minimally and do art and play guitar? So what happens is McDonald's says, okay, well, we need to incentivize people to work here, so they raise wages. Now it's $20 an hour to work there so that they can at least compete with universal basic income because the government's giving money out for free, technically for free. Well, now they raise the price of a cheeseburger to $40. Now that $1,000 given out by the government doesn't make sense anymore because a cheeseburger's $40. So now people are like, damn, I can't afford a cheeseburger anymore. Gotta go back to work. Eventually, all you do when you redistribute money like this is you create hyperinflation. It doesn't make sense. Look, I think there will come a point in time when we probably do need to implement some kind of system for distributing resources outside of monetary exchange because technology will just bring us to this point. I don't know exactly what you do, and it may just be that our work system evolves. Like, look at me. I make YouTube videos for a living. 100 years ago, would it make sense for me to, rant at people in exchange for money? Not so much. When you need food and everyone's got to pitch in, but because technology has advanced to the point that it has, it's not that we're going to lose all of these jobs, but that our our industries will change. I believe it's going to become more abstract, more creative. I don't know exactly how it will work out. I do know right now this idea of universal basic income isn't going to work. I also am confused as to why Daily Wire is calling tax credits universal basic income, which confused me, and I thought I was reading a different story. Well, let's see what they have to say. They say, Men on Rights, policy should be designed to reward work rather than replace it. Therefore, a better alternative to a universal basic income would be to expand the earned income credit. Evidence from negative income tax experiments strongly suggests that a comprehensive universal basic income program would significantly reduce work and increase dependency. By the way, those free programs carry staggering price tags. Sanders' plan to give college tuition to all students would cost $75 billion in taxpayer cash. Cortez's free healthcare would cost $32.6 trillion over 10 years, according to a new study. Booker's proposal unveiled this month would create opportunity accounts for the children of low-income parents, which would cost American taxpayers at least $60 billion annually. Granted, I don't know why they're conflating tax credits with universal basic income. I think that's wrong on the Daily Wire's part, but it's something I want to talk about. So anyway, stick around. We got one more video coming up about in just a few minutes. It'll be on my channel.